Still in Africa, the Kenyan Catholic Doctors Association is charging UNICEF and the World Health Organization with sterilizing millions of girls and women under the cover of an anti-tetanus vaccination program sponsored by the Kenyan government. Now, the Kenyan government predictably denies there is anything wrong with the vaccine because they're all paid, that's why, and says it's perfectly safe. And the Kenya Catholic Doctors Association, however, saw evidence to the contrary and had 6 different samples of the tetanus vaccine from various locations around Kenya sent to an independent laboratory in South Africa for testing. Sadly, the results confirmed the worst fears. All 6 samples tested positive for the HCG antigen. Now, the HCG antigen is used in anti-fertility vaccines, but was found present in the tetanus vaccines targeted to young girls and women of childbearing age. Now, Dr. Nagar, spokesman for the Kenya Catholic Doctors Association, stated in a bulletin released November the 4th last year, "This proved right our worst fears, that this World Health Organization campaign is not about eradicating neonatal tetanus, but a well-coordinated, forceful population control mass sterilization exercise using a proven fertility-regulating vaccine." Now, the evidence of this was presented to the Ministry of Health, which is a misnomer, before the 3rd round of immunisation, but was ignored. Dr. Nagar brought up several points about the mass tetanus vaccination program in Kenya that caused the Catholic doctors to become suspicious, and he said that several things alerted doctors in the church, far-flung medical systems of 54 hospitals, 83 healthcare centres and 70 medical and nursing schools to the possibility the anti-tetanus campaign was secretly an anti-fertility campaign. Why, they ask, does it involve an unprecedented 5 shots, or jabs as they are known in Kenya, over more than 2 years, and why is it only applied to women of childbearing years, and why is it being conducted without the usual fanfare of government publicity? They went on to quote, "Usually we give a series 3 shots over 2 to 3 years, and we give it to anyone who comes into the clinic with an open wound, men, women or children. But it is the 5 vaccination regime that is the most alarming, and the only time tetanus vaccine has been given in 5 doses is when it is used as a carrier in fertility regulating vaccines laced with the pregnancy hormone human chorionic gonadotropin." Just about got that right. HCG, which was developed by the World Health Organization in 1992. Now, it should be noted that UNICEF and the World Health Organization distribute these vaccines for free. They never give anything away for free unless it's got nefarious purposes. And there are financial incentives for the Kenyan government to participate in these programs. When funds from the UN are not enough to purchase yearly allotment of vaccines, an organisation started and funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, no surprise there, provides extra funding for many of these vaccination programs in poor countries. And these local disasters are a common reason UNICEF goes into poorer countries with free vaccines to begin mass vaccination programs. Now, last year, the UNICEF began a similar mass vaccination program with 500,000 doses of live oral polio vaccine to the under age 5. In the Philippines, after a super typhoon devastated Tacloban and surrounding areas, and this was in spite of the fact there were no reported cases of polio in the Philippines since 1993. It's all there. And a very similar mass vaccination with the live oral polio vaccine occurred among Syrian refugees in 2013, when 1.7 million doses of the polio vaccine was purchased by UNICEF, in spite of the fact that there was no cases of polio in Syria since 1999. 14 years with 0 cases, and then suddenly they roll out 1.7 million vaccines. Now, after the mass vaccination program started, cases of polio began to reappear in Syria. Go figure. At least in Kenya, Catholic doctors are acting and taking a stand against what they see as an involuntary mass sterilization program designed to control the population of Africans. Now, this kind of confirms what this show has stated many times regarding the World Horror Organization. That's exactly what it is. Don't make me laugh with the health part. It's got nothing to do with health at all. The UNICEF, UN, injecting children eugenics first. There's a nice acronym for you. UNICEF, the UN, injecting children eugenics first. Both these organisations, along with Gates, the Gates family, are death and horror merchants, pure and simple. And just because it's not happening en masse in Western countries should not mean we have to ignore it. Like everything else you ignore, it eventually arrives at your door, which it has in New York, has it not? Now, most people struggle with the idea of organised death factories, corporations being set up to make us sick, harm, or even kill us. But you cannot keep hiding behind your hands like a scared child watching a horror movie. This is not a movie, this is real life. World Horror Organization is part of the UN group and was set up whilst World War II was ongoing, and was created in time for when Operation Paperclip was also ongoing. You know what their experiments are like. And the same Zionist scientists, not Nazis, Zionists, and their death by whatever means plot was then transferred to New York for Operation Destroy America. Don't believe me? Fine. You'll find out at your own cost eventually. World Health Organization is based in, guess where? Switzerland. No surprise there. In other words, Rothschild's country. Now, Geneva is also the headquarters of many agencies of the United Nations and also the Red Cross. Again, no surprise there. Now, the founder of the Red Cross, Henry Dunant, is credited with creating the development of the Geneva Convention. All very in-house again. Of course, the Geneva Conventions was signed there, that comprised of 4 treaties and 3 additional protocols that established the standards of international law for humanitarian treatment in war, and was signed off by 196 countries. And yet the usual countries involved as pawns of warfare contravene those laws by veto voting. You all know what countries I'm referring to by now. Geneva is also the European headquarters of the United Nations, in the Palace of Nations building, which is also the headquarters of the former League of Nations. Several agencies are also headquartered at Geneva, including the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the World Health or World Horror Organization, the International Labour Organization, the International Telecommunications Union, the International Baccalaureate Organization, and the World Intellectual Property Organization. all housed in Geneva, and no one's heard of it. Now, apart from the UN agencies, Geneva also hosts many intergovernmental organisations such as the World Trade Organization, the World Meteorological Organization, Weather Wars people, the World Economic Forum, the International Organization for Migration, the International Federation of the Red Cross, and the Red Crescent Societies and the International Committee of the Red Cross, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. You've all heard that term before. The United Nations Environment Programme and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which they all contravene again. And last but not least, the Cabal wormhole escape plan after destroying this planet, and the machine known as CERN, which was rendered obsolete for its primary purpose back in August of 2015, in case anyone's worrying about it. Don't. So there you have it. Switzerland, that tiny little country that was created in the chaos, that houses so much and yet does nothing. I must have read out about 14 different organisations, major organisations there, and they do what? Nothing. Never meant to, that's why.